I'm recording. Okay. Quick intro. You've reached Book Girls on the internet, and I'm Lori, and you are Emma. We don't have
Is that an intro?
yes. We don't have
You're like,
questions.
let's go. Let's get it started. All right, let's go. Let's go on the internet.
Okay. We're talking about Iron Flame, sequel to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Let's go, hard copy.
That's right. She never has hard copies, but she
No,
does.
I already put mine away on my bookshelf. I'm just like, I don't want to reach it. Okay, I don't really know how we should structure this. I literally just finished it like less than 2 hours ago.
Why don't you start with your initial thoughts? Because I know you texted me you had some feelings
Yeah,
that you
I,
wanted
I
to
really
express.
hated the ending. I really did not like it. I thought,
Also, spoilers abound.
oh yeah, plenty spoilers. I think what I didn't like is like, okay, I definitely started coming like I knew we were gonna have also butchered pronunciations. I knew we were gonna have a chapter but from Satan's point of view, but it was really short. It was really confusing, which honestly just feels it feels like a really messy ending given like we don't actually know when the third book is coming out, but I guess that's the point of reading a series when it's like actually being written. And yeah, I don't know, like I in a way I'm kind of annoyed at myself that like I'm rooting for this love story that now is like it's clear that it's like okay, well, that's the romanticy, like it's an impossible love story. And now I'm like invested in it. I don't know. I'm like and I'm just frustrated overall of like how the romance played out like throughout the book. It was just like annoying, like they had trust issues and like I get it, like they're still learning to manage their bond and getting to know each other, but I don't know, it's just like I'm just annoyed that I'm invested and it's like obviously there are all these barriers to like the love story. And it felt like in the book all we got was like sex out of it, like that felt satisfying out of the relationship.
Mm.
um like there was this whole like cottage industry of creating chapters out of Violet trying to get secrets and then Xaden saying like just ask and I will answer, and it's just that was the whole tug of war of the book, like, and I was just like this is so annoying. Yeah, so just a lot of frustration there. And also like the illusion that Xaden again did not disclose something, like he left something out, is what is his relationship to the Venin, and like why were they after him? Like we were led on the whole book that they're after Violet, which they are, but
But I think the implication with why they went for him is because they said they're going for her, and he was like, "You're going to
yeah,
put her
so he
on
was
me
like
then."
self-sacrificial.
Yeah, I do think though that that happened at the end super quickly, and for such a slow book, like
Yeah.
was like it's a big book. And I saw something online. I don't know if you've read Crescent City by like Sarah J. Maas, but it's a thicker book. But the word someone compared the word counts, and I'm butchering the numbers, but it's like 200,000 for Crescent City and like 250,000 for
Yeah.
Iron Flame. So it's like she packed a lot in here. So I felt a little bit robbed
Like
at the end when it was like gradual, gradual, gradual. Then it was like boom, and now he's Venom and book's over. I'm like, I'm sorry, what just happened?
yeah. And like I mean, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, like in previous description of Venom, but like the fact that he has red around his black irises, is that special, or do all Venom have that? Or
All Venom have that.
oh, okay, I just thought it was like the black veins and anyways in the face. Okay,
No, the special, like the distinction between Venom is the colors of their robes, which
okay,
indicates their like level, like sage versus general versus whatever.
okay.
But that's still not fully understood as a reader.
Um, okay. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, like for such a slow book, like I felt like the book had a lot of fluff, a lot of like placeholder or exposure or further world building, but like that's was still very confusing. Like at first there was a obviously the bigger arc was like the wards, like wanting to expand the wards, but then there was also like a part about the luminary, and I was just like, okay, this is important, but then it like basically got addressed, and then I guess they were able to make weapons. Like it, I'm still confused of like what the luminary was for. Is it to create weapons?
So as far as I can tell, they could create weapons before the luminary allows them to mass create them.
Okay, to scale it.
So exactly.
Um, yeah, I and like for the amount of like new character exposure that we got, which like I appreciated, like I just felt like the proportion of like Violet training, like to get better at, you know, mastering her singing was like so small. And it's like, but all of Fourth Wing and a lot of Iron Flame is about her being special and her being powerful. And it's just like, I don't understand. Like, why is she not getting special training more? Like, why is she like, I don't know. It was just like, there was a lot of things I was just like, I was annoyed, and like, I also feel like I like her as a main character, but like she really lacks like the military thinking of like, okay, well, okay, you clearly you're gonna become like a leader in this
But
story.
that shouldn't be surprising. She was raised her entire life preparing
As
to
a
be a
scribe,
scribe. She only had 6 months before she like
you're right.
was told she was going to the Riders Squadron, and then like that's obviously been a fucking whirlwind
Yeah.
since she joined.
Um, but yeah, it was I enjoyed the book. There was just some things that I don't know if I was just like, am I reading this too fast? Like I'm not understanding like the runes, like I'm still not super confident that I could explain to someone like what the runes are for. Like I understand it's like a form of magic. And then like I appreciated the whole dead language thing, and like Jasinia's like presence, like more like there was more like scribe. There was more things about being a scribe that was relevant to the book and the plot, like translating the diaries, the journals or whatever. Um, but yeah, like I mean, I'm excited. Like okay, there's 3 more books in this series. Like a lot can happen. Like there was not a lot. Um, you know, looking at the map at the beginning and end of the book, like you can see that there's still a lot of places that like they haven't gone. So I'm just kind of wondering like where will the plot take us next?
So fun little aside about the map. So I do have the books here, which
Mhm.
you can, I mean, you can't really see it that well, but someone on TikTok made a video and they're like, I was comparing the map from Fourth Wind Iron Flame, and she's like, it's the
I thought
same,
of doing that, but
except
it was just kind of
for
like you're overthinking. Yeah, go ahead.
there's something added to the Iron Flame one, but
Oh,
it's not in mine. So I'm like, although
what?
they've had issues with printing, have you been following the issues with the print of like the release of this book?
You've been keeping me more in the loop. I did,
Basically, it's been a mess.
yeah, I did notice like 2 typos in my print. And then some of the pages were a bit more faded, which like I just in general, like this is only my second book I've ever pre-ordered, and like I don't think I'm ever gonna do it again because I'm just like it's so much better when I buy a regular print. Like why would I pre-order? Like this is
Yeah.
dumb. Like
So the thing
um,
added, allegedly, although not to mine, is there's a spot on the map on Iron Flame One, and it's called the Bay of Malek. So Malek is like the god
oh,
that they pray
okay,
to
let me
when they
get my
die.
book now because I'm just like
Yeah, see if it's on yours.
okay.
If I'm remembering correctly from watching that TikTok like a week ago, if you're looking at the map, it's kind of in the bay between the Barrens and Poromiel. I'm definitely saying all of that wrong, but
No,
I
oh
mean the Barrens.
yeah, I do have it.
You have the Bay of Life. Okay, see, I don't have it, but
So
that's not in the fourth wing.
weird.
I know. So I'm curious how that's going to come into play. I do think, like you said, they haven't really explored the world very much, so there's a lot of opportunity for that.
Like the physicality of it. There was a lot of things that like explain the magic and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm convinced that there are other people like so right now we like okay, we understand the Irish people, we understand like the school system. We
Mm-hmm.
have not really explored further in like civilian places other than Poromiel, like you said. And then we now have been exposed to the drifts, the Griffin drifts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all very interesting, and I'm just wondering, like, okay, like what next? But okay, you tell me, like, what did you think overall? Or the ending, or just anything with it. What
So
did
I'm a vibes reader. Like I'm just like I'm here to have a good time. Like it's am I having fun? So I read it in 2 days. Like I just inhaled it. And I'm so grateful for people who read these books like they have to write fucking book reports on them because people will reference stuff and make connections. And I'm like, wow, that was over my head completely. And then I watch, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. So I've really gone down the rabbit hole of like Iron Flame TikTok and the Reddit threads and
on the
theories of where it
Reddit
could
thread earlier?
go. And then I reread Fourth Wing last week and I started rereading Iron Flame, which I'm now finding it very interesting. Obviously, a big part or a big reveal in Iron Flame is Xaden's second signet, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which I did not see coming. Although now, when I was rereading Fourth Wing, there's like 2 to 3 examples where he reads her fucking mind and he responds to it, and she literally right after goes, "Oh, I didn't realize I said that out loud." And so you could, I mean, reading through Fourth Wing the first time, you're like, you just assume she didn't realize she said it out loud, and now you're like, I wonder if she actually didn't say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I am very curious about is what Violet's second signet will be, because what's her name? Rebecca Yarros has said in interviews that she's like, it's like if you know what you're looking for, I think similar to if you go back to Fourth Wing and you know what you're looking for, she's like, it is referenced in the first 2 books. I'm like, okay.
The
Well,
paperback besties were saying that on the pod.
yeah, lots and lots of theories on that. Um, well, I think one of the main first ones I saw was like that she can speak with the dead. All of the Liam flashbacks, like at first you're like, oh, she's being tortured, so her mind is just, retreating into something fine. But then it happens again and again. You're like, okay, interesting. Another one I saw that I thought was interesting was that she's an amplifier. So like her sister can't do a shield unless she's whatever, but then she does one when she's around Violet. Sloane hasn't really come into her power, but then when they're turning on the Wardstone,
Oh
she's able to.
my god!
And there was another example that I can't remember. Another one is like her first signet isn't lightning, but it's actually pure energy. So that I think will come more into play because I actually started tabbing my books, which I never freaking do. So all these like things at the top of the freaking chapters.
Yeah.
In Iron Flame, everyone's freaking out about because it's like recovered correspondence. They're like, oh my god, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
This one is from the origin, the Fables of the Baron, but it was the third brother who commanded the sky to surrender its greatest power, who finally vanquished his jealous sibling at a great and terrible price. So obviously there's that like fable that's going around for ages where it was like the 3 brothers. One was the Griffin, one was the Rider, and one was the other one who ended up being a Venin. And it's like he's defeated by channeling the energy of the sky, which is like lightning, but like in not so many words. So obviously Violet's gonna save Xaden from his Veninness. It's just a question of like at what cost, how, and when. Um, but then like what I not forgot, but almost like got so used to that I stopped thinking about it was Violet's frailty. It was when I was rereading Fourth Wing, and you're like, her limbs and her joints are all so garbage. And it's like, clearly something happened. So then there's all these theories about like her dad being infected as Venom, and maybe something happened when her mom was pregnant with her to do with her dad being Venom. Did her mom have to kill him? Is he maybe not dead, but he's
I
because
saw
like
that on Reddit too.
there's this whole theory where it's like, oh, they never actually say he died, just that he's gone or something. And I'm like, okay, that
Well,
might
he
be
had a
interesting, but
cardiac. Yeah. Did they? But did they burn all his stuff?
I feel like they burned most of it, but I think some survived, but I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
I don't know. There's so much information in these books. I don't understand how people like retain it all. I find
I
it.
love the chapter where her mom dies. There's a recovered correspondence basically that was never sent, like a letter, and I guess he would. But then it's like, okay, but she's writing to the dad, and it's just like, so
Mm-hmm.
is she
There's
doing
a
it
few
as a
things you're like, this could be nothing, or this could be you're
yeah,
subtly prepping me for something coming.
yeah. And something I appreciated was finally the allusion to Xaden's mom
Mm.
in Iron Flame. I appreciated that. And I knew Andarna was gonna be a big reveal. Like I knew
Yeah.
it. And I'm glad we finally got it because I was just like, I'm not going into the third book like not knowing what's up with this dragon.
So one thing I also tabbed in the book, which then I saw a TikTok about this particular quote, and I was like, oh, interesting that I tabbed it, was where it was like something killed off the Venom 600 years ago during the Great War, and we're actively searching for that weapon. But Andarna said that she has been asleep or egg for or whatever the fuck for 600 years. So it's like something, there's some sort of connection there, like that we don't know yet. Obviously, we know she's a very, very special dragon.
Hmm.
But also, someone was like, what about her long sleep? Is that normal? I'm like, obviously, that's not normal. It was talked about so often how it was like, ooh, it's weird that she's still sleeping. It's weird that she's still sleeping. So I'm like, that to me doesn't just say different dragon species, because why would 6 out of 7 sleep for a normal range and then she's like triple that? Like, I don't feel like that's just explained by um thingy. Another thing I tabbed from one of those like top of the chapter things was it is the valley above Riorsan House, heated by natural thermal energy, that is its greatest asset. For there lie the original hatching grounds of the, and I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, um, Dubmadin line, which two of the greatest dragons of our time, Coda and Tarn, descend. So,
Mhm.
right next to Xaden's family home and property and land is where black dragons are born. So I'm
Mhm.
like, that could, I wonder if there could be another dragon coming into play. And the third and final thing I tabbed, because I'm only 42 pages into my reread, because then I had to read other book clubs, was this just felt really random. And I'm not sure if it's because it comes in later in Iron Flame and I forgot about it, or if it's because it's coming in later. I'm really bad at remembering characters' names. But again, it was one of those, I feel like these beginning of chapter things are so sneaky. They hold so much
Yeah,
like sneaky
part of
information.
me is like, if I was so dedicated, like I would write them all in a single document
Mm,
and read them all one after the other, both for Fourth
yeah,
Wing and Iron Flame.
yeah.
Or backwards, I don't know. But like there's something there. I agree.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She loves sneaking in information there. So this one says, after 3 consecutive deaths of prisoners during his interrogations. Oh no, I feel like this is never mind. Because what was this the guy Major Burton Varish or Varish? Was he the guy that tortured her?
Yeah, Varish, yeah.
Okay. So it
I
just says
say
he
Varish, Varish, I don't know.
from active wing until further notice. Okay, so never mind. I think that's just saying like he's a psychotic dick and when he tortures her it'll be bad. But that's less exciting than when I originally tabbed it.
Um,
Um, okay, things I didn't like about it.
okay.
So I overall did enjoy it.
I did. I enjoyed it too. There was just like some parts I was just kind of like, oh, like I don't know, this is annoying. Like this is taking a while. But yeah,
yeah,
go.
yeah, no, that's fair. And I think part 1 was also quite slow and boring.
Yeah,
Part
because we
two, it
knew they were
picked up.
gonna leave. Like it was so easy to predict. It was like, okay, you're not gonna finish your year there, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like,
My friend from book club, her biggest criticism, which then it's like one of those things I'm gonna tell you, and then if you ever reread Iron Flame, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, I can't like unhear this or unsee it.
mhm.
She's like, if I have to hear them or read them say like saying seriously, seriously again, because apparently they just do that over and over, like between Violet and Zayden. I'm like, great, can't wait to never not be able to see that now. So she hated that. Okay, but one thing I didn't like was the redemption arc of Dane and her mom. Because to me, where are our
Okay, kind of hot
complex
take.
characters now?
Sorry, I'm not cutting you. Go ahead.
Where are the complex characters now? Like, you've got obviously heroic, you've got obviously villain, but these were two that were kind of conflicted, right? Like it's they had good parts you could kind of see, but their actions were shitty, their like certain things were evil, like and now it's becoming more one dimensional to me. And I'm like, I want those complicated characters that make it interesting because they're not as predictable. Like obviously Zayden's gonna do the right thing for Violet. Obviously the Venom are gonna be evil. Like it's boring. That makes for boring, predictable books. And I'm like, these were two good secondary characters that had layers that made them very interesting in scenes and in plot development. And now Dane is boring to me. And I was sad when her mom died because she got that redemption arc. And yeah, she still wasn't, it's not like they were perfect by the end, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
Okay,
now who's the complex one?
I love what you're saying because yes, when Dane flipped, I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. Like I was actually engaged. I was like, is he gonna change his mind? Which he did. But
Mm-hmm.
it's true that after that, things got really simple for his character. And he was actually quite erased. Like we didn't see him.
Yeah, now it's going to be like, unless you need, like, we saw him because he knew that language.
Yeah,
And it's like, unless you need a fucking mind reader, which, oh, you don't anymore because you have Zayden. Although, if you're still hiding that one, then fine. Sometimes you will.
yeah,
Then Dane's just boring.
yeah,
Like, it's not a love triangle. It's not like she doesn't really trust him in the same way. Like, even though he's had this redemption arc, like, as her childhood best friend, it's just like, okay, you had your fun in books one to halfway through book two. And now
yeah.
get to the back.
Um, in the same kind of line of thought, I thought Kat was actually very interesting, and I really enjoyed her giving Violet a really hard time,
Was
and
she
like
the ex-girlfriend?
yeah, the ex-girlfriend,
Yes. Yes.
and I also really like how she's power hungry, and like you can really see like the darkness to her, and like,
Yeah,
but
because it's
I guess
boring if characters are one dimensional. I'm
yeah,
like, give me
but
something
then like
interesting. She
kind of
also
like
got
you
redeemed.
said, yeah, exactly. Kind of like you said, it was very and it was predictable too, because she was like, okay, you're in the same squad now. Obviously, you're gonna be friends and you're gonna earn each other's respect. And I
Yeah.
honestly felt like it was kind of rushed. Like I was just like, why? Like you could have used a lot more tension, like between the Drift and Iron Squad or Iron whatever. Um, but but now I guess that leads me down a path where it's like I'm also interested in meeting other drifts of Griffins
Mm,
because there is an illusion that like not all of them are supportive of the Tyrish cause.
yeah.
Um, but you're right, actually, that's a really good point because now we're in a situation at the end of book two where it's like it seems like Xaden goes to Jack or whatever, and it's like they obviously have a tool to like tone down the like Venom situation. So it's
Mm.
like I think it'll be a plot point, but I'm not necessarily worried plot wise, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's not like Zayden's gonna die. Like,
yeah. I don't think the fans would appreciate that. And like not fact check, but I will assume it's true. The podcast I was just listening to by the Paperback Besties were saying that the third book hasn't actually been written yet.
correct.
Yeah, so so now we're in this situation where it's like
We'll be lucky if it comes out before 2025.
yeah, they were saying I just hope Yarros doesn't fanfic her own story. So we'll see. They were also, and I'm really piggybacking on that podcast because I literally listened to it for an hour and a half, and then you messaged me, and I was like, oh my God, we can talk about it. Um, do you think there will be other romance arcs? I was kind of hoping we would get to know more about Rhiannon's like romance side or like her boo, but we didn't. So I
I
think,
do think there will be other romance arcs, but I think they will be very, very much secondary. Like, they will not get the attention that you want them to get.
mm,
But I do think, like, I mean, there were little romance things sprinkled through
mm.
in Fourth Wing,
Yeah,
not really in Iron
Scribe,
Flame.
Sawyer, and Justinia.
Mm.
Okay. But yes, I'm glad I read it. It was very entertaining. And I truly, honestly, truly cannot wait for the TV show to come out because I'm like, how are you going to visualize? Like, how are you going to put that on the screen? Like,
No, I just hope it doesn't get like there's so many series and like especially fantasy series that get turned into shows and then they're just so bad. Like we look at Game of Thrones, I'm like, okay, that was well done, except until it wasn't. But then you think of like, because this is a little more YA, obviously. Like it's not YA, but it's like, you know. And I think of what's it called? Like, oh, I was just talking about this in my other book club
Shadow and
today.
Bone,
Huh?
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone, which also just got canceled like last week.
Yeah.
But the one with Jace and Clary, City of Bones.
Oh, okay. I don't know it.
That one, like I watched that whole thing. I was obsessed with it. I went to rewatch it, I think in the last year, and I put on one episode. I'm like, this is hot garbage. Like I cannot watch this again. And um I just read Discovery of Witches, which also got turned into a show, and I watched the first season and I never really picked it up for the second season. And I think I will, having now read the book.
Mm.
But also I'm just like I want it to blow me away, especially if I love the book and or at least love the book story.
Hmm.
And I'm concerned that so many people care about there's gonna be too many cooks in the kitchen and it just might not turn out so well.
I really wonder who's in the writer room for that script. But yeah, it's just, it's one of those situations where it's like way easier to disappoint and way like than wow the audience because there are so many expectations.
So
And
many
and I
expectations.
can already see the low-hanging fruit critique of like the cast and like the race and like stuff like that. And it's like, oof, like this is we're talking about like book talk sensation. Like the
Yeah,
audience is so much more far ranging than we could have ever imagined. Like I don't
yeah.
like Harry Potter got away with being hella white, but that was just like by a smidge, you know, like because it was like,
And it was a different time too. Like
yeah,
that Harry Potter, like 10 years, which it's been longer than 10 years since first Harry Potter, but it makes a big fucking difference. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It's just like, I don't know, like you read the, I mean, I don't, it's obvious, this is bias, this is total bias, but like you read the book and like you go on Reddit and like you go on Spotify to like listen to people talking about it, and it's like, it's overwhelming even as a reader to like read the story and you're just kind of like, oh my God, like there's a lot of pressure on that author at this point. So I really can't wait for what the third book is gonna be like.
Yeah.
But she's got our attention. But girls approve all the way. Like it was
Oh,
very,
yeah. Read it.
yeah, very engaging, and I like all the characters. Like it's just some, as you say, like I wish some of them were like a lot more complex or conflicted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I do think she does a very good job with um what's it called? The world. Like I think she has built a very interesting world. I think that she like well, I mean it goes with the world, but like just the powers and that like how it all kind of intertwines. I think that feels very well scoped out, which I appreciate because sometimes with fantasy you're like, wait, what? Doesn't this conflict with what you said like a book ago? And you realize that people just haven't been organized. I'm like, how do you write a fantasy book and not be super organized?
Yeah.
Especially for someone where this is her first foray into fantasy, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
credit where credit is due. Some of the dialogue and the pacing sometimes can be frustrating, but it definitely, I love it. I freaking love it.
Yeah, and I love there's so much opportunity too because like it's basically two worlds in one because it's like the humans and it's like the Empyrean, like the actual like dragon authority, which like has largely been quite invisible to us.
Very vague and unknown still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm just like they will come in at some point. Like we will get to meet these dragons, and it's just like this is gonna be crazy. Like I can already
Yeah.
sense the anticipation building for me. But yeah,
I read um the bonus chapters, the Xaden bonus chapters from Fourth Wing, like yesterday. And what I loved about them that we didn't actually, this reminded me of another thing I saw online, another theory was we don't, how has Xaden's relationship with his dragon changed since being changed to Venom? Because they just specifically say that she's been silent. And I don't think it's because they can't communicate, but I wonder what that means. Like, I think it's not just like, oh, she's sulking and doesn't want to talk. Like, I wonder what it means. But what I loved about, which just reminded me, what I loved about these bonus chapters was that you get more from her, and I forget her name. But Xaden's dragon.
Gail,
Sorry?
Gail? I don't know.
Sure. um,
I keep
because we
thinking
get so much of like
Gail.
Sharon and Darna, right? Because obviously it's Violet's perspective, but I'm like, you only get a little bit of Xaden's dragon talking to Violet because mostly she's like, I can't be fucking bothered talking to you, which is hilarious. But obviously she has to have a close relationship with Xaden because they're fucking linked, right? Like that's his dragon. So I would love to see more and hear more of like that dialogue and that relationship, like just getting to know the other dragons and their personalities. I think would be cool.
Or even like take it a step further, maybe in the third or fourth or fifth book, getting bonus chapters from a dragon's perspective. Like it could be from Andarna, it could be from a freaking Empyrean. Like it doesn't even have to be connected. It can be like a
I would
standalone,
take that.
like that would be really cool. Because
I'd
then
take
would
that.
create like a dramatic irony kind of situation, which the narrator being first person, we don't have a lot of dramatic irony. In the same way that like when you watch a movie, like you might see something in a scene that the main character doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, yeah, it's exciting to be part of this reader community because we're all kind of experiencing it at the same time. And I love the fact that you're rereading already. I'm just like, this girl's gonna be an expert by the time the third book comes out.
I'm not. If the internet has told me anything, is that I'm not going to be an expert because there's already 8 million experts and I don't have that attention span. But I think I'm rereading it too because I read it so quickly. I did mean to reread Fourth Wing before Iron Flame came out and I just didn't have time. But it was kind of nice rereading Fourth Wing after reading Iron Flame and going through it with the perspective that you gain from Iron Flame. But yeah, I'm trying to read it a bit slower. So I'm like reading other stuff and then I'll like read a few chapters or like read it for a night and then come back to it. It's been enjoyable.
This is nice. I don't think I will reread. But I will watch explainers before the third book. Okay. I think we can stop the recording. If you like our videos, please subscribe.